There are days where we don't have a lot to talk about. Well, today's not one of these days. It is Rant Wednesday, Triple D. He's super fired up. We're going to talk about Target earnings, TJX, Macy's going down. We got Fed minutes at 2 o'clock, and people are like on their edge of their seat about that. Christian Fromhertz, 8:35. He's going to bring us a losing trade too. Take your losers and not your winners. You can learn from those more. It's Wednesday. Let's start pre-market prep.
Welcome to Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep.
This is a volatile puppy here.
It's all about execution styles and strategies.
All right, good morning, traders and investors. We're up a choppy 8.25 handles, 56.28. We're focusing on the high close of the move that was made on Monday, 56.30. The buck, a little bit of a bounce after a bad 3 days, up 13 cents, 101.42. TLT giving a little back, not much. Let's call it flat, 98.61. Crude flat, 73.28, trying to survive that big, like 7-8 day slide. Gold just hanging out near old-time highs. Don't you feel like there's like a gold down 50-day coming? I don't know. Down a buck, 25.49.60. Silver, that's in the green, playing catch up, 18 cents, 29.69. And Bitcoin just kind of huddling there, hugging this 60K level in the futures. Down $155 at 59,515. So that's it for me on the show today. Dennis will be ranting the rest of the time. How you doing, Dennis? I will say, man, I don't know who taught you to take losses so well, because I don't know if I did. I mean, I don't.
You know who the best is? My buddy Chris that I traded with all those years of Bright Trading.
Okay.
He
Yep.
could take the losses, and he'd always go out for a cigarette. He hardly smoked, but when he was a really bad one, he'd go out and have a cigarette. He's like, took a big cigarette today, but he'd be sitting down there, and he could be down like on a trade, like as he was a fairly sizable trader, $30, $40, $50,000 on a day trade, and he'd just take it in stride. And I'm like, how the hell? You can take that, like that. And he's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And I'm like, it's such a good point, and you can learn so much from people like that. Like, I still get like ticked off, like, how could I be so stupid? Why did I do that? Bring AB in this conversation here too, because we know. So, sometimes you have good trades and sometimes you have bad trades. As a trader, it's just part of the business. And I mean, if you're not taking losing trades, if you absolutely refuse to take losers, you won't be in this business very long. Not as a trader, maybe as a long-term investor because the stock market drifts higher. But as a trader, it's all about the discipline. It's all about taking the losers. So let's get to the Target earnings here, and we're going to talk some losing trades.
All right, let's do the Target earnings. Came in this morning. Target reported an EPS of $2.57, beat the $2.20 estimate. Sales came in at $25.45 billion, beat the $25.22 billion. They hiked the annual profit outlook, digital sales boost. So some solid numbers for Target. Maybe not a blowout quarter, but pretty solid all around. Adjusted EPS outlook to $9 to $9.70 from $8.60 to $9.60. So bumped up that EPS outlook as well. So all in all, Target this morning up 13%, $19 here. So if you're holding Target here, if you've been bag holding, pretty good morning so far.
Yeah. Oh, I'm bag holding the other side of this. So, I was bag holding it. I've already taken the loss. So, I kind of felt like Target might miss. I kind of felt like Target, I just didn't feel like it. Anyways, bottom line is sometimes when I get a lead, and they were giving us a pretty good lead last night, stock was bid up at 147, up $3 ahead of the report. I was like, I'll take a shot. I'm like, how bad could it be?
147.
What's that?
I'm just looking at the chart.
147.
Okay.
I'm talking before the report, Joel.
I know.
Look, after the report, obviously the stock spiked up. So I'm talking before the report. So last night it was bid up the majority of the night. It was trading up. I don't know if you're showing. It was trading up all yeah, what oh yeah,
Well,
right
here,
near
this
the
is
end, 146, 147. Yeah, I'm not really seeing much 147. It was 146.85, I think. I shorted it right like near the 8 o'clock close. I was watching it drift up all night. I was like, I'll take a shot. And then I'm like, I even had like, I was like, it reports at 6:30. I was like, I'll get up early, and I'll maybe cover it if it's looking like, I can get out. Anyways, I did not do that. I did not get up early. I slept in. And by the time I woke up, the thing was 161. So I'm like, ooh, that's not going to be a good start to a morning. So, anyways, I took the loss, 163. So sometimes you take a shot and sometimes you lose. I take shots into earnings lots of times. People's like, why would you trade into earnings? If they're giving me a lead, a lot of times I will take a shot, especially if sometimes they give you half the expected move. This was a quarter of the expected move. I think the expected move was 12. So I'm like, you give me a 3-point shot. I was like, I took a half size position. I took a small size. Today, I'm getting punished for that. It's probably going to ruin my day. But, when you have a loss like that, when you lose, 20 points on something, it's a pretty good ding. I guess I didn't lose 20, 147 minus 63. So 16 or 17 points. It's a pretty good ding. But, here I am. I tweeted this out about 30 minutes ago, said I'm the first trader on Twitter here to post a losing trade because we know Twitter never has any losers. There was actually a few others. So I challenged Twitter and I'm challenging the chat today. Let us know, talk about your losing trades today. You don't have to be a hero. Like social media. This is a problem with social media. Here comes the rant. Facebook. Like
that
everybody's
was the warm up for the rant. That was the
kids
warm
and
up.
showing what they're doing on the weekend, and I'm on a first date. Look how cute my girl or my boy that I'm dating is. And they're taking pictures. I mean, all social media, 90% of it's just bragging. It's exhausting. It's why I don't even look at Facebook anymore, because you just go on there and people brag about themselves. And we're even guilty of that. I have a good trade, NVIDIA, and I talk about it and I pat myself on the back. We're guilty of that too. Sometimes it just doesn't go well, though. Sometimes it's not going that well. Sometimes what you see out there is people putting up a face, and it's not really Facebook. They're putting up a face. And it's not maybe really what is always going on behind the scenes. It's not, grass isn't always greener on the other side. So, challenging you today to actually go out there on Twitter, in our chat, and post a losing trade and say, hey, I didn't get this one right. You know what? I think people respect you more for that. So, anyways, Target, I lost 16 points on it overnight. Probably going to ruin my day. I'll try to fight back, but it's a pretty good hole I'm in. Joel, we're going to throw it to you. Talk about a losing
Oh my
trade.
gosh.
Have you ever had a losing trade?
Oh my God. There's so many. I mean, we could do this for the rest of the show.
It's a fun show.
Um,
Everybody wants to brag all the time. Let's have a fun show and
Well,
talk
first
about
of
when we
all,
got it wrong.
it's not in my account, and the all-time worst is Peloton. They still got it.
That was
and
Lisa's, though.
That was Lisa's, but that doesn't have my name on. I would say mine are more related, not so much like in dollar losses, but like in pain losses. And two stick out to me, and of course they involved options. Believe it or not, if you look at this Ford chart, I lost money on 23 puts in Ford. Don't have.
It's like never been up at 23. How in the hell did you lose money on the 23?
I lost money on 23.
I've never heard this one.
I don't want to talk about it anymore. Okay.
Look at the bottom right chart. The high is like 24, and Joel lost on the 23 putts. That's impressive.
Yes, that's timing. I don't know why I never re-entered. The other one too that sticks out, and this was from a while ago, and I think, and I don't know why I think I had Kroger puts. This is going back a while, and they expired, and I can't remember the strikes or anything, but the next day, Amazon bought Whole Foods, and they absolutely murdered the stock. And I might have kept one of them. So those are a couple of them. And then the third one, once again, it wasn't so much a dollar loss, but during the financial crisis, in one account, I kept on trying to buy the bottom, and I don't even know where the S&Ps are, and I bought it, and like my quotes were freezing. I didn't know where the hell the market. I was like, I'm just sitting there, I'm like, wow, I'm long, and I'm gonna get killed here, and then all of a sudden I was like stopped out, and they closed out the account. I don't know where. Like maybe I bought the S&P at like 700. It was like the day, and I think the Dow ended up like up 1,000 that day. It was a craziest thing. So I could keep going, but right
It's
there.
fun. It's fun to talk about your losers. Hey, I'll give you a good one here too, but we're going to throw to AB here first. AB, talk about one of your favorite losing trades.
Oh, I'm a pretty good trader, so I got to go way back here. I got to go back.
He doesn't have very many losers. He's trying to find one.
I got to go back. Let me set the stage here a little bit, because this was 2021. You know, we're still in the post-COVID hype cycle. Everyone's excited. All the stocks are, you know, going crazy. The clean energy trade. This is back when like all the EV stocks were super high. So I was playing with kind of house money at this point, trading options. I bought Sunrun calls, $95 Sunrun calls that were kind of leaps. So it looks like they expired. I bought them in February 2021. They expired a year later, January 21st. I just bought one for $1,850. Sold it for $250 about a couple months later. And then I tried again on Sunrun after it got cut in half and was like, let me buy a $50 call for $480. Sold that for $190. Looks like 11 days later. So I mean, Sunrun's trading under $20 right now, so I have no clue what I was doing.
You were trying to catch the bottom multiple times.
Well, I don't think it was ever a bottom. I think it was just going straight up. Yeah, it was going straight up, and it was at like 70, and I was like, oh, this thing's going up every day. It's going to hit 95 by the end of the year, and then, you know, it just went down after I bought it. So, yeah, that's how you turn almost $2,000 into $250 in a couple months right there. So, again, I had to go back a couple of years for that because it's been pretty good recently.
Yeah, if you're long only, I mean, you enjoy the bull markets. So obviously in these long, you know, if you're long only traders, I'm net market neutral, so I always get hit. But my worst ones, it's usually on the short side. I actually get dinged. Maybe I should stop shorting stocks. But I remember it was like 7:30 in the morning, and I was short Celgene. I think this is my worst dollar amount that I ever lost on a single trade. One of them, anyways. It was a pretty impressive loss. But I was short Celgene overnight, and it was like $63. You won't see the chart on Celgene because it's gone.
Right, I know.
I've part of the story here. It was like $63. It was a hedge. It was probably a hedging trade or something like that. I was maybe long some, you know, IBB or something and short in Celgene against it or something like that. And anyways, all of a sudden it's bid 80. And I'm like, and this is like 6 or 7 or 8 years ago. I'm like, 80. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And it's bid 85. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's getting taken over. And Bristol Myers, and now it's takeover for Celgene. And I had shorted at 63, and I think I covered at 89, and it was like, and anyways, the price was like 104, the takeout price, and it eventually did go there. I took the loss that day, but it was like a doozy. Like, you're like, when you're short something and you lose 20-30% in your full size position on it, it's not fun. I remember thinking, like, after that, never short biotech stocks overnight. Never short biotech stocks overnight.
What about, did you have a Humana trade? A Humana trade? I think you were long it, and they warned. I think you lost like 50, $60 on that one.
Yeah, I might have been, but that's because it was a higher price stock. I don't even remember that one. Joel remembers that one, but I remember something on Humana. It's funny. Sometimes you forget about these, you know, these loser trades, and you shouldn't. You know, you learn from them. And, you know, you got to be cautious. And you know what? Sometimes things happen. Sometimes you don't learn anything from them. You know, did I learn anything from the Target loser? People asking, why would you short Target ahead of the earnings? I'm just saying again, I'll repeat it. If they give me a lead, a lot of times I short. And a lot of times, I'm telling you, like in earnings season, I'm always short or long a couple stocks in their earnings. If they're giving me, like, sometimes you'll see a stock that's got an expected move of $3. It's trading down $3 ahead of the report. I'll do that every single time I buy that stock. Because what if they're just nervous and they don't know anything? Might be an insider. They might know something. I might get screwed. But I mean, if they're willing to sell it down the entire expected move before the earnings, I mean, there's alpha to be extracted there. I don't know how I do with that strategy overall, but, you know, like you were saying, maybe you should track it. But I feel like I do okay with it. Like, there's a lot of times, you know, where I short something ahead. Like, I remember doing big lots once in serious size. Somebody was bidding up big lots like 5 or 6 years ago, like twice the expected move. And I shorted a huge position, like a 3-time size position. And buddy at Bright was saying, that stock reports. I'm like, I know, but they're like twice the expected move. Somebody wants out of that. I think I it closed at like $15 and it was like $17.50. And the expected move was like $1. And I'm like, I'll take it. I'm like, they want to give me twice the expected move. I'll take it. And I'll take it in size. And you know where the thing opened? 12. So I actually made 3 the other way of the expected move. And I picked up the 2.5. It was crazy. That was one of my best trades on that strategy. And maybe that's why I do it. Well, obviously, last night, the target didn't work out. Maybe the people knew it. Maybe, the insiders knew it. Maybe people were just reading, it's not a lot of short interest in there. Like people were short this stock. People hate on this stock. Expectations were fairly low. It was a dangerous stock. I'm out. I lost 16 points. It happens. Chat, talk about your losers.
We got some good ones in here. I'll just while we get some in there, you got you went over 166 here. Let's just pull up the data window. I'm not buying it. I'm not shorting it. I'm just gonna say, hey, pre-market high 166.99. That's $3 away. So if you're long it, you're playing it. Let's see if we can get up there, take out the pre-market high. On the downside here, minor support. I'd give it a half a star here at someone seems to be buying it at the 161 area.
And you could come in and, some people probably short this thing and say, well, it'll come back down. It'll come back down. It might. There's a possibility it comes back down. And a lot of people add to the losers. Like this is what you're doing wrong when you're adding to losers and you're like, well, I'll just double down. Eventually it's going to come back in. And, we had the one trader at Bright, we won't mention his name, but he doubled down on everything and then he quad down. And then, and you remember, and we won't mention the name, Joel, but you remember whenever I saw a significant size position in this guy's portfolio, I knew he was on the wrong side of the trade. So, I mean, it usually if you're doubling down or tripling down, more often than not, you're going to get your money back. But that one time that it continues, you just wreck months or even years of earnings. That's why doubling and tripling, quadrupling down just is not the way to do it. And the stress you put yourself under by adding to losers, I'm going to double down, I'm going to triple down, the pain you're taking. Sometimes just get out, move on to another trade.
It's funny. We mentioned Ford. Ford is canceling their plans for a SUV fully electric. They just announced that they're
all done with EVs.
Yeah, they're going to take
the companies aren't making money on it. Like we kept thinking so much competition coming for Tesla. Maybe it's not coming because they're all bailing. They're all like, we're going hybrids. Everybody likes hybrids more. Like Tesla's. Again, give kudos to Musk. He's figured out how to profitably make EVs because nobody else can figure it out. They're all losing. What other EV company is making money? AB. Is there any that's making straight up like Rivian doesn't make money, Lucid doesn't make money, Fisker we know didn't make money. Obviously that was one of my bad calls, because I thought that could be and it went bankrupt. What is there any EV companies, and chat will ask you the same question, making money besides Tesla?
I don't know. Carvana's making some money selling them.
Well, there you go. Well, Carvana is the turnaround story.
Look at that. That's still holding that. That's still
holding
up there.
It's been a turnaround story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been a huge turnaround story. Let's go on to the next earnings report here. If you have any good losing trades, let us know. Tweet at us. Tell us in the chat. We'd love to hear them. But the next logical report is probably Macy's.
Yeah, so Macy's reported EPS of 53 cents, which beat the 29-cent estimate. Sales came in at $4.93 billion, missed the $5.11 billion, so missed by $110 million there. On top of the sales miss, the company cut its full year 2025 sales outlook there. Looks like it lowered. So the net sales, they lowered from a previous estimate of 22.3 to 22.9 billion to 22.1 to 22.4 billion. So, brought that lower by almost $500 million there on the expected net sales for Macy's. Stock getting a little hammered this morning, down $1.45, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's over 8% this morning on Macy's.
When Macy's was screwed was when Target reported and they were rallying that thing up 14% because they never rally another retailer up 14% on the same day. They always like to take one down the same way. And the Macy's earnings, EPS, was fine. The sales were a miss, though, so that was going to be a ding. And they didn't say anything great. But really, when you compare this numbers to numbers, their net sales, 22.1, it's a slight lower. I mean, the target raise was the slightest raise you've ever seen in your life. I mean, it raises up to $9 from $9.97. The target raise was $9 to $9.70 from $8.60 to $9.60. So they could actually still be in the same range. It just raised the higher end by 10 cents and the bottom end by 40 cents. And that's worth 15% because the story is different. Everybody hates it. I mean, everybody hates Macy's too. But again, Target reporting blowout earnings was not going to be good for Macy's. And that's just because it immediately set the bar higher. And then they see a miss and they're like, oh, you're not raising, so we hate you. And the algos just sell it off.
Wow. They really whooped this thing down to 15.60, and you've gotten an 80-cent bounce, which is that's a bounce. That's a nice bounce here. So that makes me think, well, boy, man, it's going to be tough getting back down to that area, at least for right now. A million shares have traded. And then I look at the dailies here. You're filling a gap from that craziness rally that we had. We're filling that pretty easily at, well, I don't even know if you're going to fill that in the regular session. That's at 16.16. So if I had $1 million to buy, if I was short and I had to cover today, I would hope to get it in 16 or lower. But for some reason, I think I'll have to start nibbling, throwing some bids out there a little bit ahead. See if I can get hit at like 16.10, 16.15. And then if not, I think you have to pay up.
I don't think it's going to be one that, we see this at. I'm with you, Joel. I don't think you're going to see those lows again. And again, you've got the August low. Actually, I guess July low, 14.59. That's way down there. So 15. Yeah. You're going to have buyers in the 15s. Yep. And, we are in this mentality here where people feel like they missed the bottom. They also probably are thinking, well, Macy's, maybe the bid comes back. There was a real estate. Maybe those buyers get more interested. But this is the mentality. It may not come back, but this is the trader mentality. I'm thinking, wow, they were going to pay 27 and then 26 and, and then Macy's didn't want to do a deal. Well, now we're down at 16. Maybe that 20 all of a sudden, maybe they come back. So I do think Macy's dip could get bought.
How did Macy's turn that down after the Kohl's debacle?
Know.
I mean,
I didn't get burned in the Macy's. I got out of that one in time, but I got burned bad on the Kohl's debacle. Where is Kohl's now? This is the worst stock.
Kohl's down. I looked at it after I saw the target. I'm like, oh, maybe this is catching a little bit.
Do you know what the dividend yield is on Kohl's?
12.
10.23%.
Free
when
money.
Your stock's got a 10% dividend. Is that still current? 10%? That's what my system's showing. Is that still current? Did they cut that? Or is that still not been cut?
I don't know.
Well, that's just it. When you see 10% dividends, they usually don't last. Usually that is indicative of a dividend pending cut coming. But wow, I mean, you look at that, you think, wow, that's juicy. Nordstrom's 3.46 only. Macy's dividend is 4.25. I think Macy's did cut it. Didn't Macy's cut it once? I feel like Macy's cut it.
I cannot remember.
All right, let's keep the earnings train ticking. Let's check in on the home builders. We had Toll Brothers last night. Toll Brothers reported an EPS of $3.60, beat the $3.31 estimate. Sales came in at 2.73, beat the 2.71 billion. So slight beat there on both EPS and revenue. Sees fiscal year 2024 EPS coming in at $14.50 to $14.75 versus the $14.20 estimate. So raise the guidance there a little bit, but stock not getting that big of a pop this morning, only up about $1.38 or 1%.
These are the cheapest stocks, the home builders, from a value perspective. And they've been cheap the whole time, and they're actually not even value traps because the damn things keep going up too. Like, you think about what the kind of money that these companies are just printing. And I know I built a house. Those builders make a hell of a lot of money. So, I mean, it's just a good business to be in. And there seems to always be housing demand and demand for new houses. People want everything new. Prices go up, lumber goes up. They completely pass that through. Like, and they make more money because they mark up the materials. So they even make more money when the material goes up. Materials are actually coming down, though, now. Like, I bought 2x4s yesterday at Home Depot. And I cannot believe where they are. The Home Depot 8-foot 2x4 was $3.63 in Canada. That's like $2.50 or 75 cents in the US. The 2x4s have come down so much. When I built my house, I was paying $10 a 2x4. I got murdered. I built the house at the worst possible time when lumber was flying up, and I was trying to buy lumber stocks to hedge myself, and it was just a disaster. But I cannot believe the lumber prices have come down. So you want deflation, you got it in lumber.
Okay.
That's good for those home builders.
Oh, yeah, real quick. Someone asked about Target real quick, and of course, I'm waiting for it to go back to the pre-market high. So, I mean, that's the only thing you can do is wait to see if it gets back up to the pre-market high and takes that out. Then, that'd be the number. I mean, it looks like it caught a bid again. Toll Brothers, wild action here. I don't know what the expected move was, but if you bought it up at 138.95, you're doing it wrong. That is probably more than the expected move. Now you've pulled back. Let's see what was the high on this day? I got a number for you here that throwing out that after hours action. Your next daily high to come in play is 136.90. So I'd keep an eye on that as potential resistance. And then, man, you had a weekday yesterday. So, wow, you haven't even taken out yesterday's high yet. So there you go. You got a number ahead of that. See what happens at 135.97. Potential support at the closing price of 133.52. That's actually a double close there. Previous day was 33.65.
All right, let's keep
TJX. We missed TJX. Back to retailers.
Back to retail. Go from retail to home builders. Back to retail. TJX reported EPS of 96 cents, beat the 91 cent estimate. Sales came in at 13.46 billion, beat the 13.3. Raises its outlook for the year. Guidance boost. Stock is trading up about 4% this morning. So nice little boost here for TJ Maxx.
I love it when they say raise and they raise by like a penny.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes the language in these reports that drives, they know the algos are looking for that language. So we'll raise it by a penny, or we'll, even in the Target case. Oh yeah, we raise guidance. Hey, you raise the low and you raise the high, and you really didn't raise it that much. But the algos don't care. They see raise and they buy. They don't like to do the math. They just want to read the words. So TJX, new all-time highs. This stock is just unbelievable. What can you say? I mean, discount. We've talked about the off-price retailers, for a long time. Obviously, with Ryan Craver come on this show, and he's talked about off-price. Off-price continues to perform. TJX is one of the best off-price retailers. Now, with that being said, stock's up 5. The report wasn't that great, so I'm not chasing it here.
No, not chasing. Initial spike 120. I got to do some heavy lifting to get there, and I'd say even after that, I think the sellers brought down their target here to 119 because that was just a recent high after that big spike. So, and also you just got to keep in mind here, this is a new all-time high. That 120 is a new all-time high by $5. So a lot of air up there. If you buy it, just hope it keeps going. Top of yesterday's range is a long ways away at 113.49, but nice move there in TJX.
One more stock I want to talk. We're going to get Christian Fromhertz on here pretty soon here, but JD got hammered last night, and everybody was scrambling trying to find the news. They started hitting it 28. You can bring up the chart here, Joel. 27.5, 27, 26, 25. It went under 25, I think, at one point in time. I mean, just absolutely hammered. It ends up being Walmart dumping their position in JD.com, and they were selling 144 million shares, and Morgan Stanley was running the book on it. So obviously, if you're a Morgan Stanley customer, you would have got that, offering out there, and that would come in your inbox. And then obviously it takes a while to get out that everybody realized what the hell's going on. But man, I was even looking, is there a China headline? We were looking for a good 10 minutes before we finally found it. But JD.com absolutely hammered last night on that offering. I don't know if we have the pricing of it yet. It was supposed to go off, I believe, 24.35 to 25.35, so significantly lower. Obviously, the stock's down 8% here still. Bad night for JD. It was 24.85 to 25.85 is where the offering was looking.
Right, and that was a discount that they needed to get that. I mean, you got the pop.
It sucks when you're that big. Just to continue that point, it sucks when you're that big, like Walmart, that you got to take an 11% haircut to get out of the position. like we were saying, Joel, send that over to us. We'll work that trade for you a little bit better. Sift that thing in there instead of like trying. But I guess they got to do it this way. They got to disclose. They got to run it out this way. So I mean, boom, the traders just hammer them on it, and obviously that's why the big discount.
Yeah, priced at $24.95. So probably get look at that. A lot of times that will act as potential support, and then people are just flipping it out, trying to make a buck and a half. I'm not sure what the restrictions are on the offering, but usually those turn out to be pretty good support levels. S&P's just a creeper rally here. Target lifting the world here. One down day. We jinxed the market yesterday with going with the 9 thing. But there you go.
Yeah, we did.
Boom.
That's our fault.
Yep.
It's our fault the market had a down day. Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and bring Christian on. Fromhertz has been waiting in the background patiently. We love bringing Christian Fromhertz on, of course, the founder of Tribeca Trade Group. Without further ado, let's give Christian our very special pre-market prep welcome. All right, Christian, welcome back to Pre-Market Prep. How are you doing this morning?
Good, guys. How are you doing?
We're doing well. It's been an interesting couple of weeks. It's been a while since we've had you on. We've had the, yen carry trade, which lasted all of a day. And then we had, the market come back. So we've had a lot to talk about the past couple of weeks.
We have, and I do like the conversation of the losers. What's your last loser, or what's your, I really think, and I threw this in the chat earlier, like your year can really be defined based on how you manage the losers. And yes, nobody talks about them on Twitter and so forth. But if you do not have a good system or a good trading plan, it's the old saying is that you've got to have bigger winners than losers, and you do have to manage the losers. You can't have large losers in this game. You've got to keep the losers small, and you're going to have them no matter what. And it's okay to be. And one of the things too, I'm just throwing a couple things out there because the conversation of losers is so important. But you could be wrong all the time, and Dennis talks about this in his trading, and it's a great education to investors. You could be wrong quite frequently. You just don't want to stay wrong, and you don't want to be stubborn. Stubbornness is probably one of the worst traits that you can have as a trader. So I love the conversation, and I love the transparency that Dennis brings, even though no one on Twitter has any losers.
Well, Christian, do you have any losing trades? Can you tell us about one notable loser or fun loser? Sometimes they're fun, and sometimes you'll learn.
Oh no.
They're never fun. They're never fun.
Yeah, I had a loser last week, and they do end up being distractions too, because it kind of messes up your day. I like how you're, good traders, and another really good trait of good traders is they just get over them really quickly. I was in Chipotle last week when they announced that the CEO is leaving, and there's nothing that you could really do about an announcement like that, and that's part of the business. Is that just sometimes, I'm mostly a swing trader. So from time to time, this sometimes scars traders from they have one of these and like, oh, I'm never holding a position overnight. But it is what it is. It's part of the business where you're going to be lucky sometimes, and you're also going to be unlucky sometimes. And the announcement that the CEO was leaving was such a big reaction in Chipotle and in Starbucks. I don't think I've ever seen a reaction like that.
Incredible.
Where a CEO leaves one company and goes to the other, and it shows you what respect that they have for this guy. But I was caught in that name, and it ended up being a loser for me. I did add a little bit to it just for the day. Usually when I'm in a trade, I've got reasons to be in that trade. And, I was looking for a recovery in Chipotle because it had dipped with everything else. And I was just looking for kind of a reversion trade back a bit. And once that news came out, I was like, okay, well, that swing trade is gone. I did try to salvage a little bit because I thought it was an overreaction. And I managed to kind of salvage the not the whole trade, but the ad that I did, because I added a little bit too early. And so I did get off. I did get out of the ad for like $1 gain, but overall the trade was a loss. And just the last thing I'll say is that it also, like, when you've got a situation like that, it's just better to kind of get rid of it, because then you're distracted.
Yeah,
And that
that's
day was a
important.
big rally day for the market, and I was, a portion of my day was watching Chipotle, and I was like, geez, I missed
Yeah.
everything else.
Yeah, I call it babysitting. Like when you're sitting there and you got one big position that's just killing you and you're just fixated on it. And
Hmm.
then you're missing opportunities elsewhere. You're not managing maybe your other positions as well as you could. I hate babysitting. And a lot of times I stay away from earnings for that reason, because those often do become babysit trades. Best thing, I think I do is just, I eat it, I move on, try not to think about it. It still bothers you. I mean, nobody likes to have losing trades, and you think about, what you could have did different. And I mean, learning from your losers is excellent too. But sometimes in the case of Chipotle, there's nothing you can do different. The news
Right.
comes out and it's bad. In
Yeah.
my case, I took Target intentionally into earnings short, so I deserve it. But I taking it that I'm, and I knew the possibility. I'm like, expected moves 12. I was like, I could eat 12. I didn't think I was going to eat 16 points, better than the
Hmm.
expected move. But you've got to know, what you can take, and, where your position size is accordingly too. So, I mean, when you take overnight trades, though, Christian, like you said, you're taking headline risk. And I mean, there's
Right.
headline risk during the day too, but it's rare. But you take something overnight, there's always headline risk. And the worst thing I see traders do is like, while they were buying a stock for a day trade or overnight trade at 90, and then it comes out with sudden bad news and it's at 75, and they're like, well, I can't sell at 75 because I'm only was supposed to lose $1. So,
Right.
I'm giving myself $1 my stop. It's way through it. So now I'm going to hold it. And now 2 years later, the stock's at 30, and it's now eroded your mental capital. It's eroded your actual capital.
Your opportunity costs
So
too.
on.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's through your stop. It's through your stop. If the stop was only $1, but it's down 15 on a bad headline, you got to eat it and move on, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's funny because as soon as you do, automatically there's a little bit of like a weight lifted off your chest, and there's also, like, and within a very short amount of time, you completely forget about it and you move on, and you're focusing more on the road ahead, because that's a lot of times what happens is when you're so focused on that name, it's the opportunity cost, right, that
For
really
sure.
suffers, and you miss the next opportunity, which, and if you're a good trader, you're going to find your next opportunity and you're going to make money on it. You can't dwell on the unfortunate or on the unluckiness of the business that we're in.
Christian, I just want to shift the focus here a little bit.
Mhm.
Boy, people are sitting on pins and needles over these Fed minutes today. Going to give us the
Yeah.
between that and Jackson Hole. I don't even know why like we're here today, because it all depends on it. But right, I mean, they are looking. The Fed minutes come out at 2 o'clock. And this is supposed to give us like whether the jobs data is being correctly. I know you have a good, grasp on the macros, interest rates. I mean, a lot of this rally, off the yen carry trade has been predicated on the Fed going a half. Now it looks like they might go a quarter. Just can you set that scenario up for us and what everyone's so hyped up about?
Yeah, I don't. The Fed minutes, most of them are what's already happened, and sometimes they do insert, some new language, but I'm really not concerned with that. I think that it is good, a slight positive. The Fed fund futures were at one point I think it was last week, they were implying about 39 basis points. So they were getting close to implying a 50 basis point cut. And again, sometimes it's just the market gets ahead of itself like that. It's now back down and closer to pricing in 25 basis points. I mean, I think that that's what they're going to do. I keep coming back to, at the end of the day, I think Fed fund futures are, where they're holding interest rates is 5.5%, 25 basis points. Okay, like it's nice that's we're going to probably get a 25 basis point cut, but I I don't think that's really going to change things that much. I do think it will be the future path of what Mr. Powell says, but
Uh-huh.
ultimately I don't think that I think it's just it gets overemphasized And my attention just kind of goes other places rather than what the Fed is going to do every 2 seconds and Fed speakers. So I concentrate on where there's strength. I concentrate on. I think that the earnings, what we've seen over the earnings cycle. Obviously, you're talking about Target is another one. Yesterday it was Palo Alto and it was FN Fabrinet. I'm encouraged by what we're seeing in terms of earnings. That we keep seeing names that are having success in navigating this macro environment where you don't know exactly what the Fed is going to do. And I keep track of names that have had strong earnings or have had a strong earnings reaction, and I've got over 100 names, which I think is a healthy amount to be
Wow.
looking at, for opportunities. One of the things too, which I like too, is it's not, going back to past months of what we've heard about the Magnificent Seven, or I call them the Great
Mhm.
Eight. Not all of them had great earnings, but other names and other areas have really kind of picked up the pace in terms of showing
You
good
want to show
results.
us a few? We'll grab the charts. I know you know how to do it very well. I can stop sharing, and you can
Yeah, sure.
share a few of those jobs. We're on the line with Christian Fromhertz. You guys all know Christian. He's the CEO and founder of Tribeca Trade Group, a frequent guest here on Pre-Market Prep, as well as the closing print. He does his technicals and fundamentals and understands all that stuff very well. Does a nice blend of it. Christian, what do you got for us?
So, I mean, we could also just talk about a couple groups if you can. I hope you can see the screen, but
Oh, I'll
I've
add
been
it.
on.
Yep.
Okay, I've been on, the show a couple times, and I've talked about just aerospace and defense, and I know that's not like a huge, it's not as exciting as AI, and it's not exciting as the semis, but this is a group that's done really well, and you have to kind of strip out Boeing from this group too, which is in this ETF, but I continue to see really good earnings out of this space. The name that I keep coming back to, and again, like this is a name that's trending, and I want names to continue to trend because I buy dips when they do sell off. But this is my favorite in the bunch, which is FTAI. That's been really strong. There's also another one, Howmet. Aerospace has been very strong. Lockheed Martin has been very. Now this one, some of these are extended, but all I'm basically doing is just showing you where there's strength in this market. So this is one group that's been one of my favorites, and there's been really good results out of healthcare too. I mean, there's not a lot of groups right now that are at 52-week highs. There's a lot of over the last couple of weeks, what we've seen is a major reversion for areas that kind of got for some tech areas and so forth that are now just kind of going to fighting with the resistance. But there's also groups like this that have done really well, and I like the Medtronic earnings too yesterday. This is to a lesser extent not quite as strong, but this is medical devices, which I think has a good chance to break out. It's not looking bad, but I liked a lot of the earnings that came out of healthcare, so that's another group.
And anything you're kind of staying away from? Anything on the downside? Anything? I know you have your rules. You like to stick to them. Anything that hasn't moved that you still don't think's going to move?
I Energy just hasn't looked right. It's even though for we've seen these different moves recently. Like for a little while it was value stocks, and going back to like a couple weeks to a month ago, value stocks really did pretty well. And financials is another group that's been doing pretty well. Financials are also very close to those 52-week highs, and I'm long Berkshire Hathaway, so that saw a movement. But energy is in that group of value, and it never really caught. So it's important to continue to monitor, and I go through and I'll look and I'll say, hey, maybe something interesting is going on. For a small second, like the refiners were acting well, but if you have to try to really force something, or think that or force yourself to get into something that isn't a isn't the best setup in the world, that's probably telling you just to kind of stay away from the group. And I think right now, I think energy, unless we start to see some, and again, it's important to monitor, but for right now, I'm underweight energy.
Are there ever any times where you just completely sit on the sidelines and you're looking, there is just isn't any good setups right now for my strategies, and I just sit on my hands and don't make any trades at all? Or do you always feel like, well, I got to find something, just keep looking through the charts more till I find something?
I mean, it's a great question. I mean, yesterday I didn't really do much. I actually took off a couple trades yesterday, And I was going through charts and yesterday, because I wasn't. It felt like a bigger dip for whatever reason yesterday, but it was such a small move. It was
Mhm.
actually nice for us to have a down day, so I didn't hear about how many consecutive days that of green days that we're having, because I always find that a bit
Annoying.
annoying. But I do go through charts, and I didn't find anything that was kind of jumping off the page to me. So I literally just kind of sat on my hands and just said, hey, let's wait to see what's going to happen, because I think that we are at some short-term resistance at this point in the S&P. So I do want to see a little bit of backing and filling. Whether I get it is another situation, because of those names and those areas that I talked about, I want to keep them. I especially want to keep a concentrated watch list to say, hey, these are the names that I'm going to go after when we do get a little bit of a pullback, because usually those are the first names to go back up again.
And what are you looking for here as far as technicals? I mean, we've been, I mean, we had a great move up, right? We have a
Yeah.
little bit of consolidation, and when you have a strong trend and you pause for a couple days, you expect continuation in that direction, just right back up near all-time highs here. Is there any technical levels, S&P cash or S&P futures that you're like, boy, oh boy, really like? I mean, yet yesterday's high, that's an easy one, but is there
Yeah.
something else that
Yeah.
that your key level?
So I'm watching basically the top of this box. So I use volume at price, and I'm
Hmm.
watching 559. So again, like kind of like keep it simple levels right now. 559 is a level that I'm watching in SPY. Qs, which are still kind of catching up. They're not back to those highs. They're not close to them. But I think as long as we stay above 471, I'll err on the side of being, bullish the Qs, as long as they can stay above that level. But again, what Dennis's question was great, because sometimes it's one of the hardest things to do is just sit on your hands a bit and kind of chill out a little bit especially after the move that we've had a little bit and the momentum. My thought
Hmm.
is, as we get towards the end of August, it is a weaker seasonal period, the end of August, and actually September too. So you've got to be very, very, going back to what we were talking about in the beginning, you've really got to be a strong risk manager here. You don't want to, if you've made money on this rip up, now what you've got to do is not give any of the profits back. And I find that many traders will do that, right? They're not adjusting to the market circumstances, and they've got the accelerator down the whole time. One of the hardest things to do is say, okay, let's stop a little bit and ease off the risk taking and see how price kind of manages in after a nice run.
Okay, Triple D, got anything else for Mr. Fromhertz?
Closing thoughts, Christian. I mean, you're summing up the market pretty well. And I look at, I often have three hats on, where I've got my day trading
Hmm.
and my long-term investing, but sometimes my swing trading hat on here too. And I just look at this S&P and think, it's run so far. I mean, I'm like, it's almost at a point where it's like too high to chase here. Like, and but again, maybe too hot to short. That was what Nick Shaheen used to say. We've come, in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like 12 trading days.
Yep.
We've got a lot of stocks up 20 to 30%. I mean, I feel like if I'm buying here now, I'm late to the party, but the damn thing just keeps going higher.
Hmm.
So, like the approach here, like how, like again, you kind of said it already, but what's the approach here?
Yeah, and I think I do the same thing with wearing different hats. I've got a longer term portfolio too, that I don't I make adjustments in like once every 2 weeks and so on and so forth. For my swing trading, I'm much more quick with taking off trades and managing that risk. So and again, like even if you decide to do what I've been doing, which is kind of just the last 2 days, like scaling back a little bit and taking more targets, you could still go put that day trader's hat on too and look for some of the momentum and read the tape and watch what's going on. Like I'm watching a stock, like here's a very highly speculative name that I'm kind of interested in day trading, but this is Intuitive Machines. This is a
Yeah.
a lunar type, as the symbol says.
LUNR.
Yeah, I mean, so you can kind of look for opportunities like this, where again, this is more of a high risk, but day trading opportunities where you're seeing a lot of call buying in this name. So I will put that hot hat on where, hey, I'm a little bit more relaxed coming into the day because I've got less swing trade positions on. But I can kind of look to see, okay, maybe now I can even play a little bit of both sides of the market if we do start to see some more profit taking as we saw yesterday. But you could just be a lot more fluid, and you can put on those different hats to say, hey, I want to hold a lot of swing trades here, versus I feel like, hey, I've made some nice gains, I want to lock some of those gains in and be a little bit more of a day trader.
All right, Christian Fromhertz joining us here on Pre-Market Prep. Thanks, Christian. We'll dial you up again real soon.
Great to be here, guys. Good luck.
Thanks, Christian.
Okay, AB back in the house here. How you doing there, AB? You want to do some analog device earnings, or someone just said there was a downgrade of Starbucks. I'm not seeing that cross yet, but you want to do ADI, big pop, and kind of pull them
Yeah,
back.
let's do. Let's go.
DZ Bank downgrading Starbucks to sell. DZ Bank is not a big mover.
DZ Bank. No.
Yeah, they're not. They're not a mover and a shaker. So a lot of times, they don't move much.
Hey, where's
prices
that short
much.
seller been? That one guy, Fuzzy Panda. Oh, look at that global.
I'm waiting for the next Fuzzy Panda recommendation, because I got to tell you, that GL was one of my best trades of the year. And again, we're saying, because remember the GL, and I know we're going on a tangent here, but the stock went from 108 down to like $40 that day. And I picked it up, I think, at 53. I sold maybe too soon. I think I sold at 81 and 87 or something. It's now 97. But wow, what a gift from the Fuzzy Panda. Fuzzy Panda, we need more gifts. Let's have some more short reports. We need to buy some stocks.
All right, going back.
We don't know who Fuzzy Panda is. He's probably not liking me right now.
Going back to analog devices, company reported EPS of $1.58, beat by 7 cents. Revenue of $2.31 billion, beat by 40 million there. Declares a 92-cent dividend, so stock is trading higher by about 2% or $4 this morning.
I'm not going to give you much help here.
Rip and dip and all over the place. So we ripped up, but look where we topped out here this morning, Joel.
I know.
244.14 is the high. What did we hit this morning?
241.90.
Right in there. So multiple highs over 240, and we top out same area.
Where'd you get to? Oh, yeah, you're right. Last month it did get to 244.14.
Lots of highs there. Yeah.
But I was looking at the boom. Yep, you're right. Man, I mean, I was just looking at the highs ahead of that. I was like, anything over 240 was just gravy here. Now it's a little bit more of a reset. You're up $5, so you got to readjust for that crazy move. And I'll tell you right now, it's not that far away, but let's see what happens at this 230 area. It's already traded through it, but come back down. So, everyone that wanted to sell the 230 certainly had an opportunity on that bar. But keep an eye, see if you can catch a 230 bid and work your way up to the next daily high at 236.92.
All righty, here. Let's.
You want to talk Texas Instruments too, Joel? It's getting
we can
here today.
I mean,
stock we haven't talked for a while. TXN, again, the same story in all these stocks. I got the V bottom where the 2-3 days. The Monday was the low on the carry trade, and then the slow, steady climb back for 9-10 days. That's where we're at. So the story remains the same, even though it's a different stock. Today, who's upgrading, AB?
Citigroup. Citigroup raises price target to $235.
Stock's trading up $2.78. It's a nice pop. I mean, 210.84 is the all-time high. So you're within striking distance of that. I mean, all the chips, they've all obviously been so strong this year. And Texas Instruments is the same story.
Wow. Multiple. I'll just keep an eye on this. Not chasing it up $3 on 14,000 shares, but you had a quad top at the 204.50 area. and then some highs closer to 206. So I mean, there were sellers there for several days. You're getting your pop in there. Look at that for potential resistance. Pre-market high comes in 207.05. If you want another target on the upside for TXN, the maker of calculators.
All right, let's
Earnings previews here. I'm going to take over here, AB.
Yeah, go ahead.
SNOW is going to report here tonight. Also, Zoom. Tomorrow, we're going to get a couple. We're going to get Baidu, actually, which is going to be very interesting for me because I got the position in Baidu. But let's talk Snowflake for a second here, because here was the stock again. Everything seems to have bottomed on August the 5th. This is a stock that has been in a serious downtrend all year, really underperforming. Warren selling it recently here, but slow, steady climb back. We're starting to get where we're breaking the downtrend here. Is there life in snow here, Joel, or is this just going to be another blizzard for investors?
An avalanche.
An avalanche.
Not a bad setup here. I think if you're looking to buy the dip, well, it looks like we're going to make even a new higher move today. But this one, see what happens in the report. But the way, if this is off, I went to the 60-minute here on the pre-market after hours chart. That's over on the left. Boom. This is when you got the news of Warren selling, you went down to 120.80. So people might be parceling out ahead of the
Warren dip was
report.
bought.
Well, that dip was bought. And we didn't even talk about that day. We had so much going on. But man, multiple lows at the 124 area, 124, 125. So if you're looking to buy a little bit of a dip and then see what happens today, what the high is today, and the potential 50% retracement on Snowflake. This is when it was trading up. Was this last earnings report? Remember that? I think this is where it was trading in the pre-market. It traded up like to 180, and then boom, they just ended up smoking it off that. So tricky stock to call ahead of earnings and after earnings.
Expected move 10%. The chat's telling. I didn't price it out, but we've got some pretty good people in the chat. 10% move, so big expected move there. And then what about the Cathie Wood Zoom? I have a small position in it. You know how I like to be long stocks ahead of reports that I don't intend to hold through the earnings here. It's going to report tonight. It's starting to show some life here, but I mean, you look at that bottom right chart and it only looks like death and despair. But top left, it's funny how different charts, if you look at the left chart, it's starting to drift up again. Ahead of the earnings report, stocks tend to drift higher.
Fundamentally, I canceled my Zoom. I'm just on StreamYard. Much easier to use. So
competition.
So
StreamYard's a solid product too.
Minor resist. This always seems to get a pop off the earnings and fades. I don't see much between 60 and 62. If you get a little bit of a pop, that's under the expected move, and then a couple gaps to fill here on the downside. For Zoom, boom, boom, recent low of the move. I think that's an all-time low. Wow, 55.08. What's the all-time low here? Yeah, that thing just hit an all-time low this month at 55.08. So 57.5 area would give you a little bit of a retracement here in Zoom.
All right. Should we talk a little merger here?
What do you got?
Yep.
What do you got? Arch?
Yep.
Yeah, we got Arch here. Arch Resources merging with Consol Energy and Arch's shares. Hold on, I'm getting my thing is not loading really well right here.
ARCH.
Okay. Yeah, ARCH
Consol.
shares. Yeah, Consol. So ARCH shares are trading up 6.5%, about $8. So a $5 billion domestic coal entity once these two companies. Arch Resources, Consol Energy to merge in $5.2 billion all-stock deal.
They love it. They love it for both companies.
Both companies. You don't see that too often.
Do you have a ratio? I like to trade these deals. Do you have
I do not have the ratio. No.
I'll have to go hunt the ratio down. We'll find it for you.
Yeah. I don't know. Both trading. Oh, no, not nowhere near all-time highs here. But, wow, these things were kind of in the gutter, or at least the Arch Coal was here. So, arb it out. I saw the CEIX wasn't moving originally, but it caught up. So wow, that's a strong looking chart. So I don't know. I hope the CEO of Console Mining Group takes over the company, because that chart looks a heck of a lot better than the
1.326. So 1.326 is where you're looking on the difference here. So CEIX times 1.326 on the takeout will be ARCH. So keep that in mind. If you're trading those two stocks, that is your ratio.
All right. I mean, that takes us basically right to 9 a.m. open here in 30 minutes. Thank you to Christian Fromhertz for hopping on the show with us today. Joel, who do we have coming on with us tomorrow?
We have Jay Woods, Chief Global
Nice.
Strategist at Freedom Capital Markets, New York Stock Exchange Executive Floor Governor. Jay Woods joining us on tomorrow's Pre-Market Prep.
Boom. Well, thank you to everyone who tuned in with us this morning. Please smash the like and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. We do have live trading starting up right after this. I'll be hopping on there for a little bit to help fill in for Zunaid. So if you're hanging out with us, you'll get to see more of me on live trading. I'm sorry about that. But all right. Any final words, Dennis, Joel?
I think it's a tough market again. It's just the setups here. It's just not a simple setup because you got a lot of air below, but you've got the grind higher going here too. Really tricky market to call here. You've come into major resistance levels for a lot of stocks, but sometimes they can grind through resistance too. I mean, we try to sell off a little bit yesterday, but then the buy the dip mentality is down again here today. What's going on with Google today? I just noticed that Google was trading down. I never actually.
I don't know. Someone asked about it in the chat earlier, and I went and looked and didn't see any specific.
There's something
headlines.
more with antitrust.
It's
here.
been out of favor. I mean, the past couple.
Well,
weeks.
you're not going to be out of favor for $2 move down. There'll be a news headline on this because Google moves on headlines. So we'll hunt it down. I don't see anything jumping out at me right away here. Just in 2 seconds of research.
Yeah, trading at the lows of the pre-market session. I don't know. Not seeing much in the charts, but with it down $1.88 right now, if it's nothing, they'll bring it back to unchanged on this session for the Googster.
I'm so worried about Google, and this is why I sold my Google out of my long-term account at the wrong price because I sold it a while ago. But I'm just worried about the competition, with search and these chat bots. And I actually asked that, I tweeted out yesterday, are you using chat bots instead of Google? And a lot of people are. And I mean, that's the worst thing for them. They can say, oh, they have their own chat bot, but it's competition for them. And I think this is why Google is actually lagged. And this is why Google's trading 21 or 22 times earnings only. The market is somewhat worried about the competition from the chatbot. So you see a lot of the Magnificent Seven right back up at the highs. Google, again, you could say DOJ, antitrust, and all that other stuff. But there's an underlying issue here. And if we start to move to using chatbots more and Google less, that's still their core business. They have so many other businesses as well, and they're well diversified through tech. But man, that's their core business. So I still think, it's concerning for me, and that's why I'm not taking a position in Google.
Okay.
There you have it. All right, guys. We'll be back tomorrow, 8 a.m. Again, Jay Woods will be joining us. Make sure to come back tomorrow on Pre-Market Prep. We'll see you guys then. Till then, stay safe, happy trading, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.